Just going to run through some really simple points when it comes to truing and tensioning your wheels. It's something that you should be comfortable with and not feel too overwhelmed by the process. If you do it more often and you do it just sort of simple steps, your wheels are going to last a lot longer. If you leave it too long, then it becomes a bit more of a task to undertake. Essentially, a wheel will only be true when the spokes are tensioned. So sometimes you may feel that the wheel looks straight, and it looks straight, rolls straight, but if there's not even tension throughout the wheel, it's not going to stay true for very long. So the first concept is essentially to tension a wheel prior to truing it. And that's what we do when we build wheels. So if you've got a new wheel, either on a bike or just on the wheel on its own, you'll find that the spokes may settle into the hub shell a little bit after riding. And that's essentially the bend in the spoke needs time to settle into the hub shell and essentially find its path. We try to pre-stretch most of the wheels or most of the spokes as much as we can, but there's always going to be a little bit of stretch once you start to ride around as well. So the first thing I would advise with a new wheel, if you feel that the spokes are starting to loosen up, is that you just want to evenly put in a little bit of tension throughout the wheel, not going overboard. So by that, essentially a quarter of a turn on a spoke key for each nipple all the way around should gradually build up the tension consistently. So if you go too hard, too fast, you find that you get halfway around and then the spokes are already tensioned up and then your wheel might be all over the place. Now, choosing the correct spoke key is the first step. If you do have access to exactly the right size and you know the right size, that's perfect. But sometimes you can get your little spoke keys that might have 3 or more sizes on them. Probably one of the most common ones is the 3.2mm size, which is, if you get different spoke keys, your black ones generally from most companies will be that size. But whenever you're checking the nipple, just making sure that it's got a nice fit, that it's not going to strip the head of the nipple off. Essentially, once you are sort of retensioning the wheel after new, as I said, just a quarter of a turn all the way around on each nipple, both sides, you'll gradually build up that tension. If you get all the way around and you find it still feels a little bit loose, you can continue to build that up and just start from the valve hole, work your way around. Essentially, with your wheels themselves, you'll have high and low and you'll have side to side. Now, to get it really precise, having a truing stand is the only way to do it, but you can get away with a little bit on a bike. You can do it on the bike without taking it off. What you'll find is if a wheel is a little bit off to one side, the simple rule is loosening the spokes on that side and then evenly bringing the spokes on the other side back up. So loosening, tightening, small steps. Don't do it too much. The same with the tensioning, just go a little bit and you'll start to see the wheel move. The same goes if you can isolate high and low, as far as having hops in the wheel. If you've got a hop or a low point, depending on what your perspective on the rim itself is, then loosening it to let the rim come out at that point and then tightening the spokes either side of that will bring the wheel back up.